clients all over the world, to third world countries, and we stepped down from owning the company and we are sold it, and we're doing that right now. And Todd is a great supporter of the program. Frank Fenner, a longtime friend. He is the owner of a cutting edge supply company and probably doesn't do a lot of activity because he's passed this down to his sons to run. And one of them, ex-great SC football player, played with the New Orleans Saints for years. So Frank, he could pass it down to people that know how to compete. Frank's been a long time with him. Tom LaCroix was a executive vice president of Beach Bank, and then they were acquired by Bank of California. He's now the business development director for that bank, and is also been a long time participant in this for several years. And whoever's in the finance area, you'll get to meet. You get to meet them. Thank you, and
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming today to our STRAT presentation. My name is Richie Gowan.
My name is Jennifer Essig, and I'm Kelsey Japan.
And today we're doing our presentation on Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's Sporting Goods is a national sporting good retailer. They're headquartered in Craftsville, Pennsylvania, but they mostly exist on the East Coast. And they sell hardline materials as well as apparel and footwear. And they mostly do this in their brick and mortar, their e-commerce, and their catalog.
Dick's Sporting Goods began in 1948 when Dick Stack was a young 18-year-old boy working at a local sporting goods store in Binghamton, New York. And the store owner came to him asking Dick what he thought the company could do to give them a leg up on their competitors. And he came up with the idea. He had a whole plan to open a bait and tackle line. So he went to present it to the owner. The owner quickly shot it down. And Dick went home discouraged to his grandmother, who then encouraged him to use the $300 in her coffee can to start his own bait and tackle shop. So that's what he did. And it took 10 years before the company became a full-fledged sporting goods company, known as Dick's Clothing and Sporting Goods. He ran the company for another 15 or so years before his health began to fail, and his son Ed graduated from college. Ed had grown up working in the store after school as a young kid and came home after college to take over the company. And at that point in 1984, he had the dream of turning the store into a national retail chain store. So Ed Stack is still the current CEO today. In 1999, he was named Retail Entrepreneur of the Year. And that same year, the company also launched its website on Super Bowl Sunday, and that was the first time that they ever received sales from all 50 states. In response to their additional demand for sales, they opened a new distribution center in 2000 to supply all of that demand. And in 2002, the company went public with an initial public offering of $12.25 per share. There was 134 stores at that time. The next 10 years or so were marked by aggressive acquisition and expansion. They started building a lot of more stores, and they acquired a couple brands, Field & Stream, Top Flight, and Golf Galaxy. Today, in 2013, they operate 527 stores throughout the United States.
For our study, we decided that there exists an opportunity for Dick's Sporting Goods to become the leading retailer in the sporting goods industry in the United States. The sporting goods industry is very competitive, very fragmented, yet under-differentiated, and this is where we see this opportunity arise. Also, we'd like to take this time to thank everyone for coming, as well as our panelists. We really value your time and your feedback later on in our presentation. We would hope that our recommended forms of sustainable competitive advantage would maximize Dick's Sporting Goods industry presence, as well as secure their target market better.
So we want to give you our definition of sustainable competitive advantage, realizing that it may differ from yours. We define sustainable competitive advantage as a unique competency of the company that is not easily imitated by the competition and ultimately raises customers' perceived value. This will in turn result in increased customer loyalty, leading to long-term company health and increased profit margins. So some expected outcomes of our study, if they were to implement, our major recommendation would be increase various distribution channels, as well as hire specialized employees, increase customer loyalty, and overall strengthen brand image as they fulfill their mission statement fully to the true athlete.
So moving on to the internal analysis portion of our presentation, we're going to begin with research methodology. And over the past 13 weeks, we have conducted very thorough secondary research. We understand that there are limitations to secondary research, primarily in the area of bias and availability of information. However, we have practiced environmental scanning and into our leadership portion of our presentation. Ed Stack is the current CEO. He's been serving for about 30 years, since 1984. And Ed Stack is the son of the founder. He really embodies Dick's mission of relentless improvement. He's very tough, but he is very customer and employee driven. He realizes that he needs a lot of very smart people to build a national retail chain store. And he spends a lot of time on storefronts engaging with frontline employees.
Next, we have Lauren Hobart, who is their new CMO. She used to work for Pepsi as their CMO. And even though she is new to the executive team, she has made some large changes. She's already moved their marketing to an outside agency. Also, she really believes in emotionally connecting with the customer, creating a two-way dialogue. And that is how she's been promoting these brand campaigns that you'll hear about later on. Also, we have Joseph Schmidt, who is the Chief Operating Officer for the company. He has been around for quite a while, moving up the chain of command. He is currently the President and COO now and for the last 4 years. And even though he does focus on inventory efficiencies, he does realize that the in-store experience for the customer is very important, as you can see in these quotes, for the value-added services and the exclusive merchandise.
Next, we have Andre Halbach, who's the new CFO. He came in this year, and he also comes from PepsiCo, like Lauren. He has history in IT as well as in the food industry, working with Conagra Foods, so he has an idea of what it takes to actually fuel the true athlete. Next, we have Matt Lynch, who is the CIO. He's been with the company for a number of years. And then we also have Michelle Willoughby, who is the VP of e-commerce, and she also works in allocation. So if there's any new products introduced, they'd be going through her.
So here you'll see that Dick's employs the use of a traditional pyramid structure where the C-level employees communicate major information down to frontline employees. However, as you'll see in the next slide, there are elements of an inverted pyramid structure. Though the major mission and vision is communicated down, employees have a couple of ways that they can feed information up to C-level executives. Ed Stack, our CEO, spends roughly 25% of each business month on storefronts engaging with frontline employees and customers to hear their feedback. And he is always relentlessly improving their company. Also, employees have a forum called the Stupid List, where they can communicate anything that they feel is stupid, whether it might be a certain policy of the way that they fold their clothes, or a certain way that they have to handle the cash box, anything like that, that they can communicate up, and the executives review those at their regular meetings.
Next, for corporate culture, their 4 core values are leading, growing, focused, and driven. And these competitive and athletic values filter into what they sell, as this is held by the executive team and filter down to the frontline employees. They choose to hire smart individuals who live out the brand. This comes in the form of part-time employees or college students who are recently or currently involved in sports, and that helps them be genuine and true sales associates. Also, if you haven't noticed already, this is a family company, and some people feel that this is an asset for them, as their strong values in which they started continue on to today and how the company is still run. Also, they're not afraid to make mistakes or to experiment and try new things. And through this, we can see an example of their Activa, which was a women's apparel line that they tried a few years back. It ended up failing and not working out, but Ed Stack mentioned in the annual report, really talking about it, that it was a growing opportunity for them.
And ultimately, Ed Stack is all about hiring specialized employees, and having those people certified, and giving them training. And that's even seen in the application process. Whether you're applying for Dick's Sporting Goods or one of their subsidiary stores, it's a different application process. But we want to see where they get most of their applicants from. 71%, the majority, are just online applicants, but the second biggest comes from campus recruitment. They really value those college students who are actually in those sports now, trying to get them into their stores and working. Also, there's 1% recruitment, that's just active recruitment, looking for specialists.
So here we're going to click through just a couple of screenshots. This is what any applicant would see if they visit their online site to apply. And when applicants apply, they need to apply for a specific specialty shop. So if they are very outdoorsy, they would apply for the Lodge, which is our outdoor specialty shop. If they were runners, they would apply for Dick's Running Shop. And what's important to note is that Dick's really values specialized employees, and the way that we see that is that in their application, all applicants are required to fill out a very detailed questionnaire listing out all of their experience, how many years they played certain sports, what level, and all of those kinds of things to make sure that Dick's is hiring specialized employees.
Next, again, as we're you mentioned, campus recruiting was the second largest piece of the pie chart. And this is important as Dick's Sporting Goods is looking for sustainable leaders, continual improvement, just like college students are choosing to continually improve themselves, pursuing a college education. And so they do value this segment of the workforce. Also, these are just their core components for their employees. It goes right back to their leading, growing, focus driven, their athletic, competitive values that really are embedded deep into the culture, and they choose individuals who live out this brand, and they do value their intellectual capital through this.
Next, these are some sample job titles highlighting that they do value specialized employees. They also reach out to professional industries, including the PGA and LPGA to work in a golf shop, bike mechanics, as well as fitness instructors to really help the true athlete understand how do I use fitness equipment. Next, we have a lot of programs, mostly for students, both graduate and undergraduate students, and that's to help them continue to be specialized, and again, showing that Dick's really values those college students in their workforce. And this is just a breakdown of their employees and their benefits. Most of their employees are part-time. That's a lot of those college students, as well as 11,000 that are full-time employees. So in summary, in human resources, all their employees really embody their corporate culture of athleticism. They also highly value college students in recruiting them and having everybody be specialized in their own specific story.
So now we're going to move into operations. Dick's began in New York, and they have grown in concentric circles to minimize the risk that is associated with the sporting goods retail industry. Different regions have different key sports, and by growing in concentric circles, they can identify problems before failing on a large scale. And so they currently have 527 stores. They've identified an 1,100 store potential, so they're just about halfway to their capacity nationwide. Their goal is to expand to 800 stores in the next 5 years. So their plan is to develop 300 more stores in the next 5 years. They're headquartered in Groveland, Pennsylvania, and they employ roughly 30,000 employees.
Moving on to their distribution centers, they currently have 4, again, primarily located in the East Coast. However, they are planning on adding 2 more in 2016 and 2017, more in the southern half of the United States, as they plan to move to escape the seasonal factors that compare with selling sports equipment. The East Coast does have those winter seasons, and that can affect their sales. Also, subsidiaries is a large portion of their growth strategy. Here's a list of them just to show how many there really are. And EdStack believes that this is a very promising source of growth for them.
Just in summary of operations, Dick's is growing in 2 ways. First, by expanding their brick and mortar stores. They're planning on opening up 300 in the next 5 years, and also by acquiring new brands. They acquired Field & Stream and Top Light in the past 2 years. Now we're going to move on into the finance section. We identified Sports Chalet and Big 5 as their major competitors. That's because they're national sporting good retailers that are public. We didn't choose Sports Authority because they are private, Cabela's because they are specialty, and or Hibbett's because they're regional. And one thing that's interesting about the industry is Hoover's notes that the sporting good retail industry will be growing 3% compounded annually in the next 5 years. So there is plenty of space for them to grow with these new stores.
So short-term solvency measures a firm's ability to pay off its short-term debts and loans. And so Dick's Sporting Goods has always touted their positive ability to generate cash flow through their operations. And they use their cash flow not only to fund their operations, but also to fund capital expenditures. So in the current ratio industry average for any retail sporting goods industry that generates more than $50 million annually in sales is about 2.28, which means they have a little bit more than twice the number of current assets to current liabilities. And so here you'll see that Dick's Sporting Goods is highlighted in green, Big 5 in blue, and Sports Chalet in red. So Dick's Sporting Goods and Big 5 are right around the industry average. You'll see that Sports Chalet took a significant dip in 2010. They started between 2008 and 2010. They experienced a lot of losses from operations, and they took on significantly more bank borrowings, resulting in a lowered current ratio. Here we have the quick ratio. The quick ratio subtracts inventory from the numerator on top, so it really shows how many assets they actually have that they could sell and generate as to cover their loans. And the industry average for any Dick's is significantly above that, and the reason for that spike in 2010 was that they closed down 12 Golf Galaxy stores, and so that freed up a lot of inventory, therefore increasing the ratio, as well as they had a new method of handling their inventory and buying inventory in accordance with seasonal sales. That's really hard to do in a seasonal retail industry, but that's something that they've really been able to master, and that is reflected in their significant increase over their competitors. And then finally, we have the cash ratio, and this subtracts all other inventory and liquidable assets. So it really just shows how much cash the company has on hand. And when you first look at this, Dick's again is in green. That might seem concerning. They have a lot of cash on hand opposed to their competitors. And the reason for that is that some people might say, oh, well, they're hoarding cash, they're not investing, but that's not the case. They've done a lot of investing over the past couple of years. In 2011, they invested in a new ERP system. They invested $20 million in JJB Sports. This past year, they bought their corporate headquarters building for $20 million. And they are buying new brands such as Top Flight and Field & Stream, which they just did over the last 2 years.
Now moving into the long-term solvency, this is just comparing what you owe to what you own and showing the company's ability to pay their long-term debt. First, in the debt-to-equity ratio, you'll notice that the industry average is around 2.7 for sporting goods, and Dick's Sporting Goods and Big 5 is right around this average. Again, Sport Chalet has a significant increase, but if you remember back to the short-term solvency, they are very low on cash, and so they do need to fund a lot of their operations through debt. Again, in their total debt ratio, this shows Dick's Sporting Goods' long-term solvency over the past couple of years. Again, as a low ratio here, it's better for their low debt. It kind of echoes what was mentioned in the same graph as well. And this can also be done through them buying back some of their treasury stock as well.
Next, we want to talk about asset utilization, and this just says how well are they using things that they have. Could they even have more inventory? So first, we want to look at their inventory turnover ratio. This just says how many times in a period they're able to get rid of all their inventory. The industry average is 2.49, and as you can see, all these companies are well above that. The reason that Dick's was so low in 2008 was because they were starting to redo their inventory philosophy, as Jennifer mentioned just a few minutes ago. And they've been able to be pretty high up there because they are able to predict seasonal needs. And so it's important for them to be able to get their inventory off their shelves quickly. Next, we have the accounts receivable ratio. And what's interesting is Dick's leases all of their buildings. They don't actually own any of their stores. And so whenever they remodel the stores, whether it's to change something in them, add a new shop within a shop that we'll talk about in a few minutes, they actually charge that to their landlords, and that counts as accounts receivable, so it actually generates some income. And this just shows that sales in the past few years have increased more than their accounts receivable, so they haven't been remodeling as many stores in comparison to sales.
And profitability ratios are really important for investors to look at. This shows how efficiently the firm is utilizing its assets and its cash. So we're going to look at the profit margin first. Generally, the higher the better. And you will see that Dick's is leading in profit margins right now. In 2009, both Dick's and Sport Chalet saw a significant drop, and that was due to the recession in 2008. Big 5 was able to keep things pretty constant through that recession. However, you'll see that Sport Chalet has maintained net losses over the last 5 years, and that is reflected in their very poor short-term and long-term solvency ratios. They just continue to acquire more and more debt to stay afloat, but they are not profitable. Their shares at this point in 2009 took a low at 50 cents per share. And here is a chart that just we wanted to highlight. Ed Stack has been quoted as saying that growing sales isn't everything. There's more to a business than just growing sales. And this demonstrates that Walmart is the low price leader, and they have significantly more sales than Dick's and Cabela's. But high sales does not equate to high profit margins. You'll see that Dick's Sporting Goods and Cabela's both have significantly higher profit margins as opposed to Walmart. And return on equity is very important for investors. It shows what a company is going to do with each dollar that they invest in your company. And so, again, generally the higher the percentage, the better. You'll see Sport Chalet very low, as reflected as everything that I've talked about thus far. And Big 5, again in green, the only time that they ever saw a negative return on equity was in 2009, since going public in 2011. positive return on equity ever since then.
And just like Jen mentioned, they did go public in 2002. This time the chart blue was going to be Dick's Sporting Goods, and you'll see over the past couple of years they've been able to maintain a steady growth. This is because Ed Stack truly believes in giving value to the shareholders over long-term periods. This time red is going to be Big Five, and you'll see they've had some ups but also some downs. Currently they're priced around $60 for their stock. And then for Sports Chalet, they've just had a steady decline over the past couple of years, and their stock's currently priced around $1. Dick's Sporting Goods, their stock is currently priced around $55, $56, and they also offer dividends to their customers, or their shareholders, sorry. And they also repurchase some of their treasury stock to keep that price high. Overall, what we'd like you to glean from this is that Dick's Sporting Goods is in a healthy position. They have high cash on hand, they have low debt, and they have a long-term mindset for their finances.
Next, we want to move into marketing. And their marketing vision is to really help the true athlete become the best that they can be. And they do this by relentlessly improving their own company, and ultimately affecting the community around them. Lauren Hobart, the CMO, really believes that the brand is the most important thing. So to really fulfill this vision statement, they're going to be able to have a higher leverage brand. Also, Ed believes in the importance of listening to customers and researching that. He's found that customers really enjoy having a highly customized, special retail environment, but that they also enjoy specialized sales associates. So again, Dick's highly values the sales associates, highly values training them, and showing them what's important to do.
Here, this pyramid is their mission statement, and their mission statement is to inform the mind, train the body, and provide the best equipment necessary to help the athlete become untouchable. And they believe that when these three components come together, the athlete truly does become untouchable. And so they've identified their target market as active women and youth, especially teenagers in the peak of their athletic performance. They, again, this is reflected in their long-term growth strategy. They want to capture the customer loyalty of teenagers when their identity is most grounded in sports and when that competition is very high, so that when they grow up, they'll become the next soccer moms and dads and take their kids to Dick's. Also, the reason for active women is that women tend to shop more than men, and women, especially stay-at-home moms, tend to go drive their kids to soccer practice, pick up all their sporting needs, and so they have targeted women as well.
Moving into the product portion of our marketing, again, you'll see this is a wide spread of sporting goods offerings, from gear to clothing. However, this widespread variety is each in a specialized area. You'll note the 6 shops on top. Each of these different products belongs in a specific area at Dick's Sporting Goods. Also, Hardlines is one of their, little over the majority of their main sources of revenue. In this case, Hardline is defined as gear or equipment for sports. The other section is just going to be gift cards or in-store services.
Dick's Sporting Goods works with over 1,200 different vendors, but the 3 largest ones are Nike, Under Armour, and the North Face. Nike is actually the largest vendor and makes up over 17% of their sales. It's important to note that while all these relationships are contractually short-term, they are long-term relationships because all these brands know that to be sold, they need to be within Dick's Sporting Goods. And next, Dick's Sporting Goods, we're going to talk in a few minutes about their store-within-a-store concept, but they really, their 3 biggest stores are their Nike, their Under Armour store, and their North Face store. And as you can see, they've really been leveraging this unique experience of their store-within-a-store concept in the past year. They also have multiple private brands, including Top Light and Field & Stream, and these make up 15% of their sales. And Ed Stack realizes that these are a competitive advantage for the company.
So not only do they think that their exclusive merchandise that's available only at Dick's through their premium vendors is a value-added service, but they also is a source of sustainable competitive advantage. But they also believe that value-added services are as well. Anyone who goes to Dick's can get their running gait analyzed. They can get their golf clubs fitted to them. They can get their rifle scope mounted, and they can get skates sharpened. All kinds of value-added services that are free for anyone who comes into Dick's. They practice a competitive parity pricing model, which means that they price their goods at or below their competitor's price. And Ed Stack has realized, he has acknowledged that if things come down to price as number 1, that eventually they will lose. However, even if they acknowledge those things, they are still practicing competitive parity pricing. And you'll see that here, we chose 3 items from each of their 3 largest revenue sources: hardlines, which is equipment, apparel, and footwear. And here you'll see that these items are sold at all 3 of our competitors' stores, and Dick's Sporting Goods is tied for the lowest price for each of these goods.
Moving into place, Dick's Sporting Goods does have an omni-channel strategy, their brick and mortar, their e-commerce, and their new mobile app. However, even though their brick and mortar is their large focus, they have brought their online equipment back in-house, and now they are managing that. They're working on revamping that. They've added some ship-to-store capabilities, as well as what is known as the endless aisle in the store, so that customers can order from an iPad for inventory that isn't at the store. So while they are heavily focused on their brick and mortar, they are focusing on ramping up their e-commerce channel. Also, as you can see again in this map here, they are primarily located on the East Coast. The orange is going to be the clusters of Dick's Sporting Goods locations, and the green is going to be their Golf Galaxy clusters. Like Jen mentioned earlier, they view this clustering strategy as a form of efficiency for marketing, for distribution, and again, this can minimize some improper buying habits because of the regionality and seasonality of sports equipment. Also, we have mentioned how they have large growth over the past couple of years, and while this may seem extraordinary, it's not without a strict retail strategy. They do choose to place themselves next to some of their actual indirect competition, big box retailers like Walmart and Target, and they choose to do this to elevate their brand, putting them next to trusted places that meet the time and convenience of customers.
One of Dick's biggest competitive advantages is their in-store experience. They have a large store model that's 50,000 square feet, as well as an even larger model that's 80,000 square feet. But what's really unique is the in-store experience. As we've been mentioning, they have a store within a store concept, and that's just different areas of the store that have specialty items. So there's the golf shop, there's the lodge, which has their outdoor stuff. But then they also have some for brands, such as their Nike shop and their Under Armour shop. And this is just what they look like, and these store within a store concepts help promote cross-selling, as well as avoid the warehouse look of a lot of their competitors. And it also lets their employees be specialized, because they're going to be in their running section, they're going to know about running. If they're in the golf section, they're going to be from the PGA or the LPGA. So again, it focuses on that specialization of the experience. They also have their online presence. It was outsourced until about a year ago. They brought it back in-house, and so they're working on developing that in the next few years.
Moving into promotion, Dick's serves the true athlete. And in 2012, with the arrival of Lauren Hobart, the new CMO, they launched a new campaign called the Untouchable campaign. And they basically have used this type of advertising. Here we have a commercial. So they have a lot of commercials, whether it's a baseball game or a football game, and it almost looks like a documentary when you first turn it on. People aren't really sure what it is, but any athlete who is going to connect with it immediately. They're going to remember the stress of the game or the joy in a victory. Even people who are no longer competitive athletes, but they can relate to that experience all over again. And Dick's goal is to really capture the ethos of their audience and help them see that we understand true athletes. We know what normal sports is like. They also have what's called Hell Week, which is a TV documentary targeting teen boys on ESPN. So they are their advertisements are hosted on trusted networks like ESPN that cater to the true athlete. And they have a Run For campaign, which is a forum for women, especially to share the reasons why they run. They have regular, normal people share why they run. And there's even community forums called the Jersey Report, where customers can kind of create a community talking about different athletes and ranking their fans according to their jersey. So in 2012, their advertising expense did go up. That was due to the Untouchable campaign. However, Ed Stack, the CEO, believes that that was effective, and he has chosen to continue the Untouchable campaign into 2013. It is important to note that of the $200 million in advertising expense, only $60 million are measurable.
Along with their advertising promotion, they do have a loyalty program for their customers. This is in the form of the scorecard, as well as a credit or debit card option. Both of these are point reward system based, and when they do realize that customers who shop with the omni-channel strategy are 3 times more valuable, they do reward this with added points. All these points accumulate to discounts for the customer, and that's about all that they use their programs for.
In summary, Dick's is all about leveraging their own brand, really connecting out, finding what the true athlete needs. If there's any need that they're not meeting, they want to find that and bring that to their in-store experience, which is their competitive advantage.
So now we're going to move into the external analysis, and we're going to begin with direct competition. Their direct competition is obviously any other sporting goods retail store similar to those that we highlighted in finance, as well as specialty shops such as running shops or hunting shops, and vendor shops such as Nike Town or vendor outlets such as the Nike Outlet. It's also important to note that by having their own Field & Stream and Golf Galaxy as a specialty shop, they're almost cannibalizing themselves by creating direct competition for themselves. But these are some of their direct competition.
And if you didn't think that was enough, they also have a list of indirect competitors. And this can be the form of big box retailers, discounts. Sports apparel is trending right now. It's all big yoga apparel, and so that's why it's offered pretty much everywhere and generally at a lower price. Also, there's sports events where customers who aren't as athletic can get that same rush and competitive bond. There's gyms that offer free hardlines for use with a membership. And there's places like Vitamin World and GNC that offer the nutrient side of athletics that Dick's Sporting Goods doesn't really focus on.
We want to highlight some technologies, both that Dick's uses and also that pose a concern for Dick's. There's augmented reality, which means that people no longer have to go to the store to try on clothes. They can try them on at home through online augmented reality, which could pose a concern since they really value their in-store experience. If customers no longer need to go to the store, that's something that Dick's wants to figure out how to fix. There's also things like tracking their shipments and their product through RFID scanners. Also kinetic displays, which is just people being able to go to these displays in the store and find out information instead of having to talk to specialized employees that really know about this stuff.
Next, we wanted to talk about the industry customer, which is again a greater challenge than it was before. Previously in the past, it was too physically demanding to drive from store to store, to wait, to hear friends' reviews on products. But now because of technology, customers can do this with a touch of their smartphone or at home with their laptop. And this creates quite a concern for Dick's Sporting Goods, who uses their in-store experience, their value-added services, and their specialized employees to create a great buying atmosphere for their customer. And so this is an even larger barrier that Dick's Sporting Goods and other sports retail industries are going to have to deal with.
Macroeconomic factors are anything that can affect the sporting goods retail industry as a whole. We know that because we're selling luxury type goods, that our sales are directly affected by the economy and the health of the economy. But a few things that we want to highlight are first fitness fads. Things like CrossFit and hot yoga and color runs are all new types of inventory and new types of equipment and new styles that are affecting sales. Also, the rising obesity epidemic is actually a macroeconomic factor that's helpful to the sporting goods industry because it's becoming very apparent that there's a need for our nation to start getting more active, especially for youth to become more active. And there's a lot of contingent legislation, especially in the area of gun rights and ammo. And hardlines are a huge part of Dick's Sporting Goods sales. And so if legislation were to come that makes it more difficult to purchase guns and ammo, that could affect sales significantly.
Looking into our SWOT analysis, we realized that there are a lot of different avenues to go down and a lot of different characteristics to comment on. However, we'll be talking about those that are most relevant to our study and our future recommendations. To begin with strengths, we just wanted to remind you of the healthy financial position that Dick's Sporting Goods is in, with their high cash on hand, their low debt, and their long-term mindset, as well as their in-store experience. They're quite different than any other sporting goods retailer with these specialty shops and their expert employees. Also, their corporate culture is being customer-driven and focusing on serving their needs, as well as their leadership, which is not afraid to try and fail and is always looking for, again, that relentless improvement.
Weaknesses include their database asset, which is a great tool that gives a lot of customer data and feedback. However, right now it is only being used as a discount program. Other weaknesses include a lot of their contracts, though they're long-term in nature, the relationships are long-term, the contracts themselves are short-term. So, for example, Nike does 17% of their sales because that contract is short. That's a weakness. And we believe that they are under-leveraging the mind component of their brand triangle. They are informing the mind about a lot of gear and equipment, but they're not necessarily giving a holistic
opportunities that they have are to continue to find the true athlete's needs and meet them in the store. If there's anything that they're not meeting in their in-store experience with a true athlete, they can bring that in and make their store experience even more unique. They can also expand their brick and mortar nationally, as well as building up their customer database.
Some threats would include their competition, both indirect and direct, as it is a highly fragmented and competitive industry, as well as the seasonality and regionality of sporting goods equipment and the difficulties of buying for a certain region. Also, the online shopping trend is an issue for Dick's Sporting Goods. While they are working on revamping their e-commerce, their main focus is their brick and mortar and in-store experience.
And we want to go back and remind you of our definition of sustainable competitive advantage. And that's a unique competency of the company that's not easily imitated by the competition, but that raises customers' perceived value, resulting in customer loyalty, increased profit margins, and long-term company health.
And Dick's would identify their sustainable competitive advantage to be their in-store shopping experience, which is comprised of their specialty employees, their store-in-a-store layout, as well as their brand image. Thank you. As well as their exclusive merchandise, which is only available at Dick's for Under Armour, the North Face, and Nike. They have exclusive merchandise in certain colors or styles that you can only find at Dick's.
Some areas we see that are under leverage would be serving their target customer in a holistic manner. Also, the community, both in-store and out-store of Dick's Sporting Goods, is a great opportunity, especially with social media these days, for customers to build that loyalty and build the emotional connection that a trusted brand needs to have. Now we'll be moving into our recommendations. We're very excited to announce to you what we've been working on for the past couple of weeks. We're looking forward to your feedback, but first we'd like to start with our rival alternatives, things that we considered but didn't necessarily go down those routes, as well as our minor recommendations, which are things that we feel need to happen before implementing our major program.
So viable alternatives are things that we considered as major recommendations, but we didn't choose, whether it's because we saw roadblocks or we thought that something else was more important. The first one was a customer relationship management tool, and that'd be revamping the scorecard. We thought that this would be wise because a lot of their scorecard has discounts in it, and changing that up might lose some loyal customers. We also considered an HRM program of training more employees and having them even more specialized within the store, which Dick's is all for that. And then lastly, we also considered vendor relationships, since they are all short-term contractually, but we realized that for now, Dick's is insulated from that threat because a lot of those vendors realize that in order to have their goods sold, they need to be in Dick's Sporting Goods.
So now these are some minor recommendations that we would encourage Dick's to implement prior to implementing our major programmatic recommendation. We would suggest that they continue to further develop their website and their application to make it more user-friendly, as well as more fully leverage campus recruiting, and begin to leverage their scorecard database to use it as not only a form of customer information and discounts, but also to use it for a direct marketing tool. We think that Dick's could be using this to track the types of purchases that customers make, to identify either what their passion is or maybe some of their hobbies. For example, if someone is consistently buying running shoes every couple months, we might be able to identify that they're either an avid runner or training for a marathon, and could start sending them emails with training tips and send them emails when it's time for those shoes to get replaced, to encourage a little bit more direct marketing.
But overall, what we would like to recommend, in keeping in line with Dick's Sporting Goods' current store-in-a-store format, as well as their vision to aid the true athlete become untouchable, we would like to add a nutrition shop along with the other 6 shops inside Dick's Sporting Goods, known as the Fuel Station. These are just some images of what we feel it could possibly look like. And again, this would fit in with their brand shops and their sports-specific shops. Again, to remind you of their place, we would recommend testing this in some small stores before expanding it nationwide. They do have the cluster strategy, which would help in this for testing out in certain specific areas, as well as their brand in a brand format as shown on the slide here.
And we've been researching the nutrition industry for the past several weeks and view it as a strategic move for Dick's to enter into. In the past, it was mostly for professional athletes, but now it's really for consumer athletes. And professional athletes only make up 5% of nutrition sales. And we want to go back to the triangle where DICS is all about informing the mind, training the body, and providing the best equipment to make the athlete untouchable. And right now, they aren't really leveraging all of that because they aren't informing the mind of how to best take care of the body, especially fueling it, and training that body with that fuel, and providing the best equipment of how to be fueled with blenders and juices and other products that we'll be talking about in just a moment.
So their products that we would suggest that DICS carry would be all the essentials that you would find in a nutrition shop. Things like pre and post workout supplements, vitamins, minerals, energy in the forms of bars and gels, as well as appliances such as food scales, blenders, juicers, blender bottles for things on the go that will be nice little tools to help the athlete not only become untouchable on the field, but also untouchable in the kitchen. And so these are kind of just the pictures of what the products would be. And right now, as Kelly mentioned earlier, DICS does place themselves in shopping plazas to create a one-stop shop next to Target and Walmart. Target and Walmart carries a lot of these products, and so we feel that DICS is leaving profit margins on the table by strategically encouraging their customers to go to Target or Walmart to purchase these items. And so we believe that by offering these types of products along with value-added services, that DICS could truly become a one-stop shop within the confines of the sporting goods of their store. Now, they do carry a few of these items currently. However, it's not a focused area. They're scattered throughout the store. They're not centrally located in one spot. And so we really think that they could be more leveraged.
And along with these products, we'd also like to have specialized employees, just like any other area at DICS Sporting Goods. The runners work in the running shops. We would like to have certified nutritionists also work in this nutrition shop. They'd just be giving some basic advice on some dietary suggestions or sport-specific plans. They'd have tools like handouts or fill-in sheets, as well as just the general knowledge to help these athletes improve themselves through nutrition. These employees would be driven and passionate, just like all the other employees, wanting to promote health and wellness to the customers. For those who are not in a certified nutritionist program, we still want to allow them to work in these areas, especially if they have that previous skill or a passion for it. These are just an examples of a few certifications that DICS Sporting Goods could offer through their human resources. We realize that this could be very expensive, which is why we would suggest having a contract for employees to sign that they would not leave DICS 12 months after the completion of the program, and if they did, then they would be liable to repay for that. But overall, we wanted to focus on having specialized employees in this section, just like any other section of DICS Sporting Goods.
And we realized that with the introduction of the fuel station, there'll be a large demand for nutritionists. And we looked at where they got most of their applicants and realized campus recruitment is a great thing for them to do because those are students that are already involved in sports and also learning about nutrition. So we recommended some of the top schools for nutrition in strategic locations where DICS either already exists or is planning to expand. And this has helped these students be able to learn what it means to be nutritionists while they're in school and give them a job while they're there, contributing to that part-time employee base.
So just like DICS has value-added services in all of their other specialty shops, the fuel station would also have value-added services. Now, we wouldn't give customized plans, first for liability, but also we want our value-added services in the fuel station to be of the same caliber that they are throughout the rest of the store. So we will give basic health plans as far as exercise and dietary needs, along with provide resources to get involved with the community, whether it be local races or clubs or things like that. Here are just some screenshots of what their app could look like. Just like each shop has a section on the website and on the app, the fuel station would also have a section on DICS website and their app. Some things that we've thought about would be kind of like a community forum where customers can track and share their progress, whether we have a calorie counter or a GPS technology. There could also be a list that people can get in touch with other runners or other hikers or things like that in their community.
And ultimately, what are the benefits of nutrition? While working out is a key part of becoming untouchable, we know that nutrition is another key component. And that's because eating right helps the athlete train harder, longer, and recover faster. And ultimately, if the athlete isn't eating properly, they cannot reach their optimum performance and become truly untouchable.
The third part of of this program would be fostering the community and building loyal customers. Again, Jen mentioned some of the features, both online and in stores, resources for customers to use in their local areas, tracking and sharing their progress, creating accountability so that nutrition can be something fun and something engaging. Another portion of this would be that we feel that Dick's vision pairs nicely with our programmatic recommendations. They're all about serving the athlete, helping them to improve, which we feel nutrition does. They're all about relentlessly improving their company, and we believe that this is truly a long-term, sustainable source of competitive advantage. And also, they want to give value to communities, and we feel that this nutrition will do that.
So this is the last factor of community, and that would be free education seminars for the community to come and be a part of. The certified sports nutritionist would lead the seminars, and basically the types of information we would share would be maybe the scientific breakdown of macronutrients and how the composition of those different nutrients can affect the way that your body performs, as well as basic guidelines to read a nutrition label, basic things to look out for when choosing between a healthy and a not so healthy packaged snack, just things that can be informative on a general level. These are some just examples of handouts that we could possibly give. Portion control resources, exercise charts, things like that.
So to bring about awareness, we recommend a PR event. Additionally, whenever Dick's opens up one of their main stores, they have a grand opening. So we recommend an opening for their store within the store, the new fuel station. And what this event would do is we just bring in local athletes, probably high schoolers, to bring in their high school friends and their families, as well as competitors from the Biggest Loser to bring in people that aren't necessarily fit right now, or people who are wanting to live a better active lifestyle. And these people will be talking about the importance of nutrients in their routines. Also, the first 100 guests to these would be getting free fuel packs, which would just be gift bags of some of the new products that we offer in Dick's. And also, this is just a sample Facebook post. It'd be combining and leveraging that social media aspect, just saying check online for recipes. We'll be putting on more information online about nutrients as well.
So we understand that this is going to cost a lot of money, especially because our program does involve brick and mortars. You might be a little concerned about the financial feasibility, but because they do have low debt and high cash on hand, we do think it's feasible. But we also think it's feasible for a number of other reasons. But some of the costs that we would look at would be marketing research. We know that's expensive, but it's very important to identify what areas this would be profitable in. We also know it's going to be expensive to pay for certification, but we think that it's well worth it, and it is developing employees. And we know that it's going to cost money to further develop the website app, but that's something that Dick's is doing, and so we believe that Dick's would be on board to spend additional money to fully leverage their website app.
Some internal portions of feasibility would be their leadership and corporate culture, which is customer-driven, open to change, and all about serving the true athlete. Their marketing triangle that we've referenced earlier, informing the mind, training the body, and providing the best equipment to make the athlete untouchable. Nutrients pair nicely with this, as well as their store-to-store format. This would be nothing new for a Dick's customer to come in and see a specialized shopping area like a fuel station. We feel that there's the financial feasibility to do this. We feel they have the vendor relationship feasibility to do this. They work with people like Nike, and they have over 1,200 vendor relationships. Also, we feel that this would allow them to not only expand on their current market share, but also garner new customers.
So just looking at the financial feasibility, if we look at their long-term and short-term solvency, they're easily able to finance this new recommendation. Short-term solvency, they have plenty of cash on hand, which is traditionally how they fund all of their growth. That's how they purchase several brands, as well as their corporate headquarters. But long-term, they have very low debt, so they could take some debt out from that. Also, whenever they remodel a store, including adding a new fuel station, that counts as accounts receivable that they charge to their landlords. And ultimately, they're all about the long-term focus. If this is going to be a long-term growth, even if it isn't immediately, they're going to be all for it. And just looking at brick and mortar feasibility, because this will take space up in their stores, EdStack is planning on moving out a lot of their lodge stores and their golf stores out to Field & Stream and their Golf Galaxy stores, and that's going to free up room in their stores. He also wants to, for the new stores, have a larger store format, and they could have the fuel station already built into them from the get-go.
Here's some metrics that we've decided on that Dick's Sporting Goods could use to measure the success or failure of our programmatic recommendation. While we realize this will probably not bring any profit gains in the short term, we feel that the long-term benefits greatly outweigh any PR stunt or other strategy that we could
believe that we will further insulate our current customer loyalty and gain new customer loyalty for those who are interested in adopting a more healthy lifestyle. We also believe that we will truly become a one-stop shop for the true athlete within the Dick's Sporting Goods store. And we believe that because there's only 527 stores and there's an 1,100 store potential, there's over 500 stores that they could just build this nutrition shop into. They wouldn't have to remodel all of their stores to do it. And by remodeling stores, again, that is going to give more accounts receivable.
Some areas of future study include reevaluating our major recommendation based on the metrics that we provided. They can also expand nationally into the areas that they aren't involved in. They're mostly on the East Coast that we mentioned, and expanding into the West. They can also target a major acquisition, which is a big source of their growth in the past several years, as well as leveraging their in-house brands that, again, only make up 50% of their sales.
So to finish out our study with our spiritual implications, in 1 Corinthians 6:19-20, we're called to steward our bodies as temples of the Holy Spirit. So we are firm believers in what Dick's does in encouraging active lifestyles, and we believe that our recommendation to encourage nutrition and health and well-being is in alignment with this mandate.
Another theme for our project was fellowship. Even though this was a school project and we were assigned our partners, we often found ourselves at each other's homes sharing meals, and I truly feel like I gained some friends in this project.
And also teamwork. In 1 Corinthians, Paul talks about how there's one body but many different parts. Each of us has a different emphasis in the school of business. And while we were able to focus on our own emphasis, whether it's marketing, management, or accounting, we were all able to learn more about each other's sections and act as one body and really know about this full project.
And in Colossians 3:23, that's the theme for our business school. We're called to, whatever we do, work out with all our heart as working for the Lord. So we try to adopt that mentality and not just work for a grade or for this presentation, but to honor the Lord in the way that we steward our education.
And overall, just to sum up our spiritual implications, this was a demanding project, and again, Jen mentioned our high work ethic. However, prayer and reliance need to be an important part of our project, as we knew we couldn't rely just on our cleverness or our hard work or the time that we had, but that was a necessary portion of success and completing this presentation.
And finally, will we invest or work in Dick's Sporting Goods? And the answer is yes. We believe that just financially in investing, they have had a steady growth in the past 5 years in their stock, as well as a long-term focus, so financially they'd be great to invest in. Also working at Dick's, they have a great brand image, great corporate culture, they have community responsibility, and they value their employees. So now because we're excited, and we want to open up this time to questions from the panel. Thank you.
Well, good job, you guys.
Thank you.
You guys really, wow, fire hose of information, and your hard work is certainly been presented well. So, thanks. I'm not sure where I want to go first, but I love the recommendation in the sense that it's not a reward card.
Yeah.
That seems to be a trend sometimes, but so I like the idea. One question I would have is, so to what level were you able to research the profitability of nutritional items, since that's your major recommendation? So are the competitors selling nutrition items? What's the profitability on those things? Does that make more money in the store than if they filled it with Nike sweaters or whatever? So that's a bunch of questions that if you can wrap that up.
Sure. We did study the nutrition industry. We showed some mentions about how the industry is growing, how it's transitioning to everyday people and not just people who are in the gym 24/7. And so we saw that as an area to add on for the athlete. Other places like Big Five or Sports Authority, yeah, they have maybe some gels at the counter or some energy drinks, but we feel that this is kind of like getting ahead of the competition and that they don't offer it yet, and it totally holistically wraps up the athletic pursuit of improvement. And so we felt that though we didn't study exactly what a certain product of nutrition would garner for profit margins, we feel as a whole this would just add to elevating their brand, creating trust, building loyal customers, and adding just even more for the athlete.
In addition to that, a lot of gym past have tried to sell goods in them, but customers weren't going to the gyms to buy any goods. So that's why they don't sell them there. But Dick's is a retailer, so they're expecting to go there. But some of our indirect competitors, such as Walmart and the big box stores, also sell them. We recognize that, but it's a hassle to go into Dick's, buy a lot of your sporting goods, and then go to another store. So we're really focusing on the convenience of being there and also the expertise in the in-store experience to give them guidance on what to get.
Yeah, and finally, though the exact financial breakdown was beyond the scope of our study for these 13 weeks, we don't have the exact numbers. We do know that athletes who go to Dick's Sporting Goods, they are purchasing these types of gels and pre and post workout supplements. And so a lot of our competitors, like Walmart and Target, they do offer those, but they don't offer any value-added services as far as specialized employees. Dick's Sporting Goods employees do not work on commission, so they're not going to be just trying to sell products that people don't need. And we believe that it's helpful to, though you can go online and read reviews, there is something different about having a specialized nutritionist say, this is okay, this is going to be good for you, it's not going to have any harmful effects, or it's really going to either supplement your training or not.
Jump in here. I think you handled that part very well. I was concerned, you hit it right on the head when you said the next door to a Target or a Walmart who was selling the same exact thing. You know, thinking, well, how are they going to sell this at the same price as Walmart? Then you started bringing in nutritionists, and somebody that's going to help these people, and that's kind of that extra value there is added value is going to allow them probably to sell it for a little higher price. That's what I thought. So I bet you handled it. Another, I have a question for you. You're talking about accounts receivable, and something to do with the fact that they lease. So how do they get an accounts receivable? They're paying rent.
So they don't own any of their buildings, yes, they're paying rent, but the landlord has them remodel their building, so they're taking what looks like a regular warehouse, and they're adding a lot more value to the store by actually remodeling it, adding these specialty shops, and it's a much nicer building when they sell it, and so they charge those costs to the landlord. So Dick's does the work for them, and the landlord pays them to remodel their store.
The TIs.
So I know
So they
Richie,
get reimbursed for the TIs.
Yes.
Back as an account receivable.
Yes.
And that's something that's.
that's the only accounts receivable they have.
Mhm.
Yeah, and because they're expanding so,
So much.
yeah.
Especially with like building these new stores, they'd be putting in these new stores, remodeling. So it would be a large part of their account receivable, which in their 10K they even say, this is the majority of our account receivable is from these remodels.
Richie, I heard you said that they expand 300 stores. Out of that, I heard 800 stores.
So right now they're at 500 stores, and in the next 5 years they're adding 300 stores to be at 800 stores. And ultimately they have a 1,100 store capacity within North America.
Richie, when you were looking at this, the e-commerce part of it, which I've had some experience with, is extremely heavy. Is their e-commerce business actually adding to the bottom line, or is it just something you have to do today because otherwise?
It does add to the bottom line. As we mentioned, a lot in the past few years it has been outsourced, and now they just brought it back in-house. That was part of Andre's initiative. They had a 5-year plan to really build out their business. But right now, if you go on their website, they have a huge section for clearance. So that's a lot of their goods that they're not able to sell in store. They get them out online. That's part of how they have such a high inventory turnover ratio. So it does help, but they haven't leveraged it, and they realize that in the next 5 years that they're going to be valuing that more, and it's going to have a bigger impact on their bottom line. But right now it's significantly less. If you look at their finances, it's significantly
Cyber Monday. We looked at like $22 billion that would be spent online today, like to buy stuff. You know, so when I think of goods, I would, you know, I wouldn't buy a golf club online, you know, but I might buy a sweater or shirt or something like that. So I think that was one of your minor recommendations. I guess your minor recommendation was work on the website, but I'm thinking, is that part of really expanding your online business?
Yeah.
And to what level?
Yeah, we wanted to expand the online business again, as they were talking about. They had a plan to expand it, but also we talked about the threat of augmented realities of people not being able to come to the store. If they could somehow make their online presence similar to their in-store experience with less expertise, or be able to provide products that ship to store capability, which they recently added on, it's really helping leverage that more, but it's still something that they really need to develop.
And part of our recommendations, like with the community or the track and share or blogging info, that's just adding value to the e-commerce site. So it's more than just, you know, their clearance merchandise. It's somewhere that customers can go to, and just creating that more compact and loyal community.
I'd like to clarify what I was getting at is, if you're gonna make it up in volume, you know what I'm getting at? If you're losing money on every sale on the internet, which often businesses do,
Yeah.
because of free shipping, competing with Amazon, who has, you know, facilities, and we saw 60 Minutes the other night, it's unbelievable what they do. In order to get that stuff out to you at a very, very low price possible. So a lot of the companies that are like this, like Best Buy, Sears, they lose tons of money on the internet, selling on the internet. But they're already in it, they've got all this money invested. And so anyway, that's what I was getting at. Really something that they should expand. Or maybe just have a really nice website with really good advice and sales going on at the store and drive people to the store.
Yeah, I think that's kind of more what we were hitting at, just kind of making it look more presentable. It's pretty cluttered right now on the screenshot, and then adding those community resources more than just adding products online.
You guys did a great job. I mean, I'm really impressed. I thought each one of you very well spoken. Good presentation.
Well, I just go back to asset utilization. When we kind of were on that page and we looked at the incredible inventory turnover ratio that Dix has, we kind of skimmed by that a little bit. And other than explaining what happened in 2008 when they reworked their inventory system, I guess. But was there any research done, and how do we account for their incredible success, especially even over their competitors, of inventory turnover?
So one thing that they do is it's very difficult in the sporting goods retail industry to predict customers' needs, especially seasonal. Index has been able to do that in the past few years with their new inventory systems and their new inventory philosophy. So while a lot of their competitors just have the same stock year-round, Dix is able to predict the seasons of what they need to do, and they order their shipments about 3 months in advance. They finalize them already for what they're going to get, and even the way that they ship things to the store is very sophisticated. They have to be ready to be presented in the store, and so it's important that they be able to have a high turnover rate because they have seasonal goods in them, and since they're able to anticipate needs, they're able to get those off the shelves quicker.
But don't the others have the same issue?
As far as
As far as seasonal issues,
Oh, the
turnover?
difficulty.
Yeah.
As far as like, they don't sell seasonal stuff, so it's difficult for them to predict what the customer's needs is.
Well, like Big Five places are more national, so they're not as able to regionally buy like Dick's Sporting Goods, and they also do a weighted value system to estimate their inventory. That takes a lot of time and effort, and others, one of the competitors, haven't really switched their inventory estimation methods to that yet. And so we feel that could also be something to add to this.
And then I would say that the other thing that I could think of that could be affecting why they are still significantly higher than the other two is that they cluster their stores. So they might have 3 or 4 stores in a certain area. They can spend all of their marketing dollars, but then just go to one to plug one store as opposed to cluster. And same with all of the inventory needs in that area are going to be the same. So that could be something too. They could use
weather for that specific location, especially those three, and not having to have so much inventory in each individual store. They can trade in between those stores and have less inventory and be able to get it off the shelves quicker.
Do you know to what level that impacts their cash flow?
I'm not sure directly, but it's good.
Let's give the team a hand, you guys. Thanks, gentlemen, for coming and taking the time to prepare and do your research and go over the financials. The team was expecting some difficult questions and some challenges, and so we're thankful that you guys were here and were well prepared. I think we're off to a great start. I don't know that this team could have done much better. And you know, one thing we were talking about in the green room before we came out here is that something happened in Strat this semester, and that is that it's impossible in the future to have a three-person team anymore. There's just too much work for three people. And yet, here we have a team of three that just really excel, right? And, you know, when things go well for a team, you have to think about why. And partially it's because the research methodology is so sound and the research itself is so sound. And you begin to have a lot of credibility when you see all the detail and all the research that's embedded into the situational analysis. I think that it bodes well for a team, too, when they have good balance. And the team was incredibly well balanced, not only in the presentation, but also in the Q&A. It's funny, too, everywhere we look, everybody's reeling back from brick and mortar and moving to digital business strategies, right? And here's a team that basically is investing in brick and mortar. And one of the things that's so interesting is that their research revealed that it's consistent with leadership philosophy and where they're going, and it's completely feasible and connected to corporate culture and leadership. And I really like the fact that, you know, there was a lot of discussion about how they could do it versus Walmart and not be, you know, bitten by the low price bug. And I think they understand very well something I spent a lot of time trying to preach about too, especially in relationship marketing classes, is that if you add value and meet customers' needs for time and convenience, and we talk so much about specialty and expertise, when the customer perceives a higher value, then they'll be willing to pay more in location. So certainly no presentation is completely flawless, you know, and I have my little notes and questions that I would ask them too, but I'm super, super proud of them, and they set the bar really, really high for all the teams to come. They're going to take just about 5 minutes to debrief with you guys, and then you guys can go back in the green room, and I'll come back and debrief with you after I spend a couple minutes with the students. Let's give them a hand again, guys.
Good job, Jen and Reggie and Kelly.